I'm here with Joe Daigle. He's the orchestra director at Rudder High School, and he is also the music director and conductor of the Brazos Civic Orchestra. I'm glad to have Joe on the show. It's his first year. It was his first year this year as a high school director, and so we're going to get his thoughts on transitioning from middle school to high school. As a high school director, what was your role in going to the middle schools and supporting those middle school directors and trying to build that vertical alignment and trying to get everybody on the same page?
Yeah, that's, I think it's vital. The interesting thing about that is that you can take students who have a different background and you can get them all where they need to be on that year. But when you do have that vertical alignment, you do have a sense of we're starting here and moving through this to get to here, it's much easier. It's just much easier. So this will be the first year that we've been able to really dig into that and to get more and more vertical alignment. I also teach at the intermediate school. So I teach sixth graders. I teach them the fundamentals, the basics, how to play their instrument. Method books are probably the hardest one. And it's like, well, sixth grade, everybody uses a method book because you got to. You pretty much need all those details. And then I find that more and more, seventh and eighth, it's less and less books and less techniques and more music, which is fun and great for the students. But I do think it's important to keep some of those skills going the whole time. And so what we've been trying to do is to use books that they're not bored of. So if they use this book series, all of a sudden you give them that same level of book and it's a different book, it's interesting to them because it's new musical examples, it's new things, it's new pictures, all of that. And that really works at the middle school level. High school level, we use some more advanced technique books. Again, when you talk about things that I probably pushed too fast, that was another one, is that I should have slow played some of that technique stuff a little bit into the year just because they weren't ready from the middle school yet. And I think as we go, the next few years, we're going to start to see more vertical alignment in the schools as our recruiting is going directions that make sense to us. We're actually going to be able to see that. We're going to see some influence. But I do assist at one of the middle schools, and the other high school director assists at the other middle school. So we do have a sense the students do get to see us. We do get to work with them somewhat, which is helpful.
So how is it different in your position now of support? Rather than last year, you were the one being supported. What's your philosophy on that, coming from that background, and how does that affect what you do and how you interact with staff?
Oh, that's a great thought. It's very different. Having come from, you always see the things that you wish were there, right? So the thing that you say, oh well, last year was okay, but I wish this had happened. Well, that next year, you got the opportunity to do that. And so certainly, I took on the role of assistant to the director at the middle school in a different way than previous directors had assisted me. And I did it in the way that standing at the back of the ensemble, we all know teaching from the back of the room is valuable. But when you have 30 students and they're all needing to follow you, they're all doing things, it's very difficult for one director to get to both places or to be all over the room. So one of the things that I did and I just thought was probably the most effective was I would either sit in a section and either play with the middle schoolers in that section, maybe the second violins, violas, whatever, cellos, or I would just float around the back helping. And so adjusting hand position, adjusting bow position, getting them to think about it. And what I noticed is that I caught a lot of things that I think had I been up in the front of the room, I probably would have never noticed. And so that's something that I knew that was true. So I tried to do more and more of that this year. I really tried to just be the floating around the room fixing things person for the middle school director's program, rather than having any sort of opinion on the big way things should go. It's just like fix the little things and help out that way. So I thought it was helpful. Approaching that differently, I think allows the students to be very comfortable with their director. I think it's very hard for a high school there's this mentality that the high school director is somehow better than the middle school director, and I think all of us know that that is not true. That's one of the best musicians and best teachers I know loves teaching middle school, and he doesn't want to teach anywhere else but middle school, and that's just something that he likes to do. And we need those good teachers there. So you don't want those middle schoolers to think, oh, well, the high school teacher's here, we better listen to him, not the middle school teacher, just because he's at the high school. And so I try to stay away from that and really get my ego out of the room and never have it be about me or about my thoughts, but really just be a supportive role.
What happens, though, when you see something occurring at one of your feeders and you're like, ooh, you're looking into the future, and you're like, oh, this could be bad. How do you address that with that director or teacher, and how do you come to a compromise on some of that stuff?
Definitely not in front of students ever, 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 ever. I think it's really important to maintain the authority in the classroom. So
wait, say that again, right in that camera in front of the
never, ever, ever, ever correct the teacher in front of the students. If you have an issue, you cannot do it because it undermines their authority. And again, especially with that concept of, I'm the high school director coming in, I don't want them to think, oh, well, Daigle's here. We don't have to listen to this other teacher anymore because we just have to listen to this person. So I don't ever do it. And in a rehearsal, if there's something that goes wrong and I have a suggestion, I try to find a way to present that suggestion not as a criticism. And that's the hardest part is if you can come across as, hey, try this, not, hey, this didn't work very well. And you say that in front of the group, all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, that didn't work well. But whereas you say, well, hey, maybe this might work, and you present it that way. So again, taking my ego out of the room and not bringing it into the rehearsal, I think was useful.
Awesome. Thanks for reinforcing that.
Yeah.
No, because look, I get it. When people are going to visit their feet, like this is a stressful job, or it can be a stressful job. You can put pressure on yourself and on your programs to do well, and you see stuff happen and you feel that stress and you're like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. And you do things that, like, if you weren't stressed out, you just let it slide, or address it in a different way.
Right.
And so sometimes people can be very aggressive, and people can just like get after one of their colleagues in front of the kids. And number one, like you said, it's really bad for the kids.
Yeah.
And it's also really bad for that teacher because, I mean, you don't know how much damage you're doing in that moment to somebody and their confidence and whatever. And they're going to lose a lot of their credibility with their students in that moment. And when you're not there, that's going to be a snowball effect.
At the moment, that can be tricky. Again, trying to float around and help allows me to not feel like I'm ever in front of the group. And so I feel like I can collaborate in a way with that director that is not putting me in the spotlight, and always boosting up what they're doing. Always boosting up what they're doing. I think is important. So when you see something that doesn't go well, like for instance, maybe there's a tempo change or something that the orchestra's just not quite getting it. Okay, and maybe I can identify, or you might identify that, hey, it's because of this. Well, the ensemble doesn't know that. They don't know what that reason is. What they know is that it's not working. They know that it's not working. So finding a way to give a suggestion that says, hey, try this. Maybe why don't we all try it like this? What do you think? And you ask the director for their permission of like, hey, do you think this would be a good idea? Which again takes it away from being even my idea. Like, hey, I had this thought. What do you think about it? And now that puts that power back in the hands of the director for them to make that decision. And if they haven't thought of that, and maybe they think it's a good idea, then they're probably going to jump all over and be like, hey, yeah, let's try that. Or maybe they say, no, let's do it this way. But it again, spins it so that they are always in control. And I think we cannot, I can't reinforce that enough. I mean, we look right in the camera again. Don't correct your directors. The students feel it. The students absolutely feel it. And like you said, the minute you walk away, the minute you're not in the room, they don't have the authority anymore.
Right. You touched on edification. What are some ways that you edify the teacher in the room and build them up?
I usually use their name and to the students. So if I have an idea, or if I have a thought, or I hear something that needs to be fixed, rather than saying, hey, this isn't going right, I'll say, well, were you watching when the conductor did this? Did you notice this? Because now I can ask that student that question, is still putting that attention back up on that director. And then as far as edification, I think that's a really important thing that we do for our feeder systems, is that we want to make sure that those students feel like they have the absolute best teacher in front of them for what they're doing right now. Not, okay, in a couple years you get to come to my school and be in my program. Great, I'm glad that you want to do that. But right now, there's no better place for you to be. And so I think that comes with some positive criticism or constructive criticism, but keeping it very positive if you have that. And then just some basic like, hey, that was awesome. Just some moments where you just say, wow, that was really great, guys. Y'all are doing an awesome job. And just making, keeping it positive and keeping them feeling some success. So that works pretty well. Collaboration with the director can be tricky. It depends on, I guess, how well you get along with that director. Is probably your personal. And again, I think when you come at things from kindness, when you come at things from a positive perspective, you avoid a lot of the pitfalls that make relationships not work.
Awesome, man. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Tell the viewers where they can find you. Where can they go to hire you, maybe as a region clinician or as a judge or as a consultant or something like that?
Yeah, probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is through the Brazos Civic Orchestra, which is brazoscivicorchestra.org. And I can be reached through that. We're on Facebook. I think we have an Instagram as well. We have a board of directors that handles some of this stuff for me now, so I don't have to do it all anymore, which is awesome. But definitely interested in anything I can do to help. If you see some things that you'd love to ask me questions, I'd love to answer them. So that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And then, of course, you can find me. I'm at Rudder High School in Bryan, Texas, and can definitely be found through the website there.
All right, thanks for watching. Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks again.
Yeah, appreciate it. See you next time.